Another day. The only difference between today and yesterday is that today I'm older than I was. Are our perceptions of getting old shaped by the traditional norms and opinions of society? It's easy to sometimes fall into the trap of thinking that getting old means giving up. Ponce de Leon sailed the world looking for the fountain of youth, when all he had to do was jump over the side.
Susie, it is so cool to finally get to see you, albeit not in person. I feel as if, your presence is like you. It's like you're sitting in this room with me, and it's so rad to have you on Shredding the Gnar.
There you go. Me too. Thank you.
So Susie, I've been digging around, and you've obviously been influenced from a very young age to take this path. To want to surf for the most part of your life.
Yeah. Well, actually, I went and saw a movie. I was staying down in San Diego with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt wanted to take me to see a movie, and she wanted me to see, something very refined because I was a real tomboy. I was all over the place. I was all over the map.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see something, more fun. So then she said, okay, we'll see the one movie, and then the other movie we'll see will be The Gidget. And that was the original Gidget. And I go, okay, I like that. Really wasn't sure what it was, but I thought the name was cool. So then when I saw that movie, I'm not kidding you, I just said at that point, I'm going to be a surfer girl. I don't care what it takes. That's what I'm going to do. And I came back after seeing that, told my mom and dad, I want to surf. My dad goes, cool. So then the next thing we knew, we were out buying a surfboard. I got my first longboard.
That is sick.
Absolutely true.
I believe you. And
yeah,
we're talking what, 50s, 60s? 40s?
Oh yeah, this was like in 59, 60, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere like 50, I think 59 was when the movie came out. So this was either 59 or probably early 60s. So I know I was either in 6th grade or 7th grade. I was probably getting ready. I was either in junior high or getting ready for junior high, something like that.
Wow.
So 7th, 8th grade, something like that.
So
I just know there was no other girls surfing. I know that nobody around was surfing but the guys, and it was just young kids. It was just, school age kids. You didn't see any old people. There was no surf schools, it was nothing like that. It was just a bunch of kids. It was really nice, actually.
Quite phenomenal. But I can connect with what you're saying here, because my mother, she's nearly 90 now, and she brought me up watching like Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Frank Sinatra, and so I totally get how that movie Gidget influenced you, and it's quite funny actually how it's influenced me as well, in my life.
That's kind of like me, because I went back to school and I'm telling all my friends, that I'm this surfer girl. I hadn't even been in the water yet, dude. And I'm telling them I'm all this surfer girl, and they're looking at me like, what? Because really the only kids that really were surfing around was like the teenage kids, and we weren't teenagers yet.
Yeah.
So we were kind of young, and I was like, doing the cool moves, and I don't even know what I was doing. I was just copying what I had seen in a movie. I didn't even know, but it was fun.
So if we rewind all the way back to when you were young and what you were experiencing growing up, California must have been a completely different place in those days, right?
Like both from a lineup perspective, and then also from the beaches and the houses, and like it must have been completely different, right?
Well, for one thing, it was it just seemed more easy and laid back, and not so rushy. Not rushing around, all that. That's a big thing. And then also there wasn't these super crowds. Sure, you had people that came to the beach, but usually the places where the surfers went and the breaks were at, it would just be like the surfers. It wasn't really, nobody was really laying on the beach. It wasn't like people were going around watching the surfers. They just weren't really doing that. So it was very low key. It really was. It was, and then people say, well, you're this girl in the water and there's all these guys. I only got anything but positive. I don't remember ever having any problems at all, and then I talked my girlfriend into coming with me because I didn't want to be the only girl, so I drug her. We got her this waterlogged Jacobs surfboard. It was a longboard, but it was so waterlogged. It was a piece of crap. But I completely told her, I think we bought it for like $20 or something. And I told her, oh, this you just got the primo board, completely lying to her just to get her in the water. And so anyway, but it was really cool. But it was just totally different. Probably, like I say, just the laid back. That was what was really, that I see so much different now, because everybody now is so, rush, and there's so many people in the water.
Yeah, I must say, South Africa, and South Africa, even though it's the most sort of populated and slightly more first world than the rest of Africa,
right?
Definitely, if you were to come here, you'd probably feel as if you were stepping back in time a little bit, coming to the breaks here and some of the places, because we do have crowds in the bigger cities like Cape Town and that. But if you go to where I am along the coastline, 2 hours from J Bay, and that, it's very chilled, and
I do miss that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm sure you do. And
I mean, even down in Malibu, which was kind of like the place, it just was, I don't know, there was a lot of people. I mean, it was one of the, more crowded breaks, but it was still just more of a chill thing. I don't know, you had those hardcore guys that, but I never really surfed around them. So I didn't get that feeling. You know what I mean? They kind of were like they were out further, we were more on the inside. They were out further, like, Third Point or something. And we were all, inside. So,
that's cool. And
I was still flopping and flailing all over the place. What can I say? Kind of like what I still do today, but today, at least it looks better than it did when I was that age. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I now when I go out of control or when I eat shit, I maybe have a little bit more nice look to it,
Finesse.
Come up in the water, looking good. After doing an El Rolo, you come up and you go, oh man, I planned that. What can I say? I'm good, man.
It's progressive surfing.
Yeah, El Rolo. I mean, those are kind of cool.
So what age were you, Susie, when you kind of like made the decision to say to yourself and to others around you, hey, I'm a surfer? And because in those days, there probably weren't nearly as many young women surfing. So at what age were you when you sort of made that decision and were vocal about it?
Oh, I thought that from the very beginning.
Okay, so how old were you?
Like 10, 11, 12, that age group. But I mean, I thought I was really kicking it. I thought I was the shit when I was in high school. I mean, especially my senior year. Junior year good, but my senior year, I really had a lot of fun, and I was surfing every day. And I mean, I was like just, walking around, I mean, there was no girls, not one other girl. I went to Ventura High School, and my best friend went to Buena High School, which is also in Ventura, but, different part of town. And I just was like, I think it was really cool. And what was really cool was, see, I was in with all the guys. Okay. They were just, but it was cool because they were like my friends. All right. And all the girls would be like, sitting on the beach in their little bikinis, or whatever. And, and I'd be out, and I looked like I had sand in my hair and eating sand. And I mean,
Yeah.
So, but I was, so they'd ask me about the guys. I'd be like, well, you got to come out in the water. That's what you got to do. You got to get out in the water.
I think you could probably mix it up with the boys, because you probably got on better with the boys in those days than what you did with girls or your peers, right?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of guy friends. It was just crazy. But they were like cool. They were just, but one thing too, because everything was so much, the towns were smaller then, the population was smaller then. You went to school with everybody. So I knew everybody, and I had known them since elementary school. Because, we just went to like elementary school, we went to junior high, and we went to high school. All the same kids, those 3 schools, So you just got to know everybody. So I knew these people from when, kindergarten, first grade, I knew them, so I knew them forever.
So as we fast forward now into the later 60s, I dare say you were in high school. Did any of your friends that you used to surf with and that you were close with go off to Vietnam?
Oh yeah, including my husband. But yeah, they all went. And a lot of them didn't come back, unfortunately. A lot of the guys didn't come out, because the year that I graduated was 1966, and in 66 and 67 and 68 was probably the years where most of the guys, that's when they had most of the deaths were in those years of when most people graduated. I mean, my graduating class, we had over 30 guys that were killed in Vietnam, and that's a lot. We had a big, a large number that graduated, but still, that's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So that, Yeah, so that happened. But what's cool is so many of those guys that did surf before, all that happened, then they came back and they came back to surfing. So it was really cool because then everybody came back. That was really, I like that. That was cool. That was fun.
Yeah, I like the way you look to the positives, and draw from the positives. Well, that's rad. And so where did you go from there, Susie? I mean, you've kept the Stoke alive for so long. I mean, we're talking 60
Okay, well,
odd,
the Stoke,
60 odd
yeah,
years now, right?
yeah, long time. But it kind of, it kind of goes in waves, which is really weird. I think I'm probably more stoked now, and I can only chalk that up to my age. I'm not kidding, because always was stoked about surfing, but at some points I was more stoked than other times because I wasn't always able to surf. I had a kid, I was raising a kid. We were not in California at times, and so, it was just different. I wasn't able to go all the time. So I had years that I didn't really surf much. And then I'd go and then I wouldn't go. Then I'd go. Now I go, I mean, I've been doing it now. This is like, especially since I retired, I have more time. That's what I want to do. But, the Stoke level, just, you know how it is when you surf. It's just that you just have that feeling. And it's that, I think what also to me, the Stoke means is, how when you're in the water and you don't think of anything, you're not really thinking of anything. It's weird. It's hard to describe to people and explain, but I don't really think of anything. And it's just the best time when you're not thinking of anything. And then you just feel stoked. It's just a feeling. It's just great. So you always want to recapture that. Sure, you want to recapture that great wave. You know how it is. You're never going to surf the same wave twice. You know what I mean? You're never going to have the same waves or the same conditions, whatever. But, you want to recapture. For me, it feels like I want to recapture that. Just that I don't have to think. I'm not worried about what's going on in the world. I'm worried about this or that, or thinking about this or that, or, I'm just in the water, not thinking. It sounds absolutely nuts, but it absolutely is the best. It's really the best. So I'd suggest anybody, if you don't want to have to think about shit, get into surfing.
You only have to look at the influx of surfers in California over the COVID period. It's more than 1.5 million new surfers. That's why your lineups are so crowded. But I think a lot of them starting out to surf, don't actually understand right at the outset how difficult it is to learn to surf. We look at other sports and other mainstream sports, like whether it's riding a bike and even a skateboard to a degree, and then other ball sports. Surfing is completely different to taking up a sport like that. And no discredit to those sports and to those sportsmen, but you could pretty much get those sports dialed in after a few weeks and a few months, and then it's just about fitness. But with surfing, it's completely different. With surfing, as you well know, it starts off with the rash. If you're surfing without a wetsuit, it starts off with a rash and sore stomach muscles, and muscles that you didn't even know existed start to ache, and it takes months of just getting the balance right on your board. And then once you've got the balance right, it's then learning to stand up, and the list goes on all the way through to etiquette in the lineup, learning how to read waves, when to take off. It doesn't take months, it takes years. And even after years of surfing, we're still on an everyday basis learning about surfing, and it's largely due to the fact that the ocean is constantly teaching us and constantly shifting and changing. And it's a very difficult thing to create a format or a sort of a pattern, much like all other sports. You can kind of get into that groove and into that pattern. But with surfing, every wave is like a fingerprint. It's none of them are the same. So it's a completely different dynamic and a completely different sport to learn to surf in, learn to participate in. And I think a lot of these new surfers starting out don't actually realize that right at the outset.
My husband and I have been surfing, I wish I could say that I'm this excellent it just isn't that way. I think you just go to whatever level and however much you want to, put into it and what you want to do. You know what I mean? Eventually I just got older and older. Well, I just didn't like those big waves anymore. And you know how it is. Your performance is a lot less because you're not in the bigger waves. And so, and usually you have less to pick from when you've got smaller waves, and you usually have more people on a wave when you have smaller waves. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it really becomes a challenge. So, my skill level, my paddling is always, I'm a badass paddler. What can I say? But, getting up is a challenge because, you know, the body doesn't like move like it used to. You know, I can't just pop up, you know, it takes a little bit to get there. And then, you know, dropping in and then, you know, and wanting to, it just feels different the older that you get. And you don't know that until you start getting older and you start feeling that. So, you know, so some of the things I did when I was younger, I don't do anymore. You know what I'm saying? But and I know people say, well, you can't be worried about what's gonna. Well, hell, I am. I don't want to break my frickin' neck. I want to surf tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
yeah.
You know, so I have that self-preservation thing where I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just going to go do this. And I'm like thinking, you know, I think I absolutely could, with the skills that I have, handle things, but I don't put myself in those situations because I don't trust that, you know, maybe I might get hurt. And then I'm going to take a lot longer to heal than you would. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly. Yeah. And that's very clever thinking.
You made a comment about like, you're not the same as what you used to be. No, you're not. I mean, I think you've grown as a surfer. You've kept your stoke alive, but let's just talk about your rise in popularity on Instagram and on social media, because as an older person, you're out there, you're putting yourself out there, and every bit of what you have to say on Instagram, like you've got so many cool followers and people who enjoy your content. And I think that's what everybody clings to and wants more of, is that positive energy that you give. You know, it's just infectious. I think that's the word we'll use for it.
The fact that at this age, over 70, and you're still surfing, you still got the stoke. You're like in a very small niche group of people in the world that are surfers.
I agree. I mean, like, so it's funny. Sometimes I'll be out there and I'm surfing, and you know everybody when you surf a break a lot, and you're there all the time, and you know people, and it's funny. And I'll think about it. I go, this is so weird. But the girl that I'm surfing with today, that I'm sitting here talking to, is younger than my granddaughter. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, I mean, I'm her grandma. You know what I'm saying? I mean, most of the gals that I surf with, I could be their mom, because that's the age difference. And then there's those ones that I could be their grandma. And then there's a couple of girls that I could probably be their great grandma. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and I'm thinking, this is just crazy. It's really crazy. It's just crazy. It's wild.
Well, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And you know what's really cool is everybody's really nice. You know, I mean, I think if they see me from a distance, you know, then once I get up close, and of course they see that, then they know, oh, this bitch is old. You know what I'm saying? So then they're just really nice. It's great. I like that. So I kind of like play the old card. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to play the old card, because then they'll say, oh yeah, you take this way. But I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And then I turn and burn, you know, I'm like, you know, let's go. You know, and I'm thinking, oh, sucker, you know.
Earn and burn. I like that one.
Yeah. You know, I'm like turning and burning. I'm like thinking, I'm in my mind, I'm going, sucker, you know, it's funny. But then a lot of the guys that I know that are in the crew, you know, they watch out for me, and they're cool. You know, maybe they see me, I'm on the inside because there's just so many people, and I definitely don't like to be, you know, I don't share waves. I just don't, you know. I'll just wait for another one. No big deal. You know, take it. I don't care. I'll just get another one, you know, or another one. It doesn't matter. Or I'll go over here where there's not a bunch of people. It just doesn't bother me. I don't worry about that stuff anymore. It just doesn't faze me. But then they'll come and they'll go, come here. And then they like, you know, block for me. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then I take advantage when I can, you know.
Wow. You've got real first world problems there, because
yeah, I know.
Like at the moment, California, that it's just all about crowds. It's about things like loads of electric bikes, right? There's the rise of the electric bike. There's everyone's wanting to surf, and it's just this, like, I don't know, for want of a better word, cheap mentality.
You know, and my husband will say, does anybody work? You know, because we'll go to the beach. We're there, you know, I mean, we could be there 7 days a week, and we could go at different times. You could go at dawn, you can go at noon, you can go at 7 o'clock at night before it's dark, and there's a million people, and you just sit there and you know, and then there's a million people on the roads to get there, and you're like, does anybody have a job? I mean, what's their hours? Maybe they work when we're all sleeping. I don't know, but it's just like, and this has really gotten way more, I'd say, in the last couple of years. It's really crazy. it's just really, it's nuts. It's crazy.
Would you say that a lot of people have semigrated from other states to California because of the whole lifestyle change?
Well, it just seems like there's a lot of people leaving, actually, more than people in. But I just think really a lot less people are working. That's really what I think. I think the unemployment is a lot greater than what people put out there, the experts or whatever, the numbers they give or whatever. And then I just think it's easy in this state to not work because you kind of are rewarded for not working, So I think because there's so many handouts, which is good, because some people need them, of course. But, it just the incentive to, not work. And so I'm like, I'd like to stop that so they go back to work because I'm retired. You know what I'm saying? So.
What did you do for work, Susie, for most of your life?
I worked in the fitness industry. So I was aerobic director, then I was an instructor, and I worked my way up, and I was teaching and training other instructors, and I'd go all over California and present workshops, and then I'd go to the conventions and present workshops there, and I did that for like 35 plus years, I think, something like that.
You weren't the lady in Flashdance, were you?
Oh, good Lord, no. No, she's way beyond my skill. Let me tell you, that chick, No, but I mean, I was started out in that industry when they were wearing like, the little socks that pulled up and the little leotards and all that kind of stuff, We just thought we were so cool. I thought it was, so great. But so I was way back, like probably the early 80s, mid 80s or something. I started in that industry. And then,
when Jane Fonda was all the rage.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I was actually teaching before her. So I hope I'm not older than her. I don't know. I probably am. Whatever.
Well, that explains a lot.
Well, that line of work explains a lot about your energy and who you are. I mean, I can totally understand it now. It makes sense.
I had a lot of guys in my classes, and back in those days, it was harder to get guys to come into, a group fitness class. But I was such, kind of a drill sergeant type, and guys like that. So you beat them up and they like that. And so I enjoyed beating them up. I like that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you always like had a really healthy lifestyle, made sure that, did you place a lot of emphasis on health and fitness in terms of your diet and everything?
Well, I would say my fitness, I would say my exercise far exceeded my eating habits. Okay. I was a person that was kind of a chubby kid, and then I got pretty overweight as a late teenager, but I was still able to do things, but I still got pretty overweight. And then I lost like 100 pounds because I got really overweight, when I had my son. So then I lost 100 pounds, and it was after that loss of losing that weight that I got into the fitness industry. So then I got more serious about exercising. Plus at that time, before that, I was a heavy smoker. I was really into smoking. And then I dropped that too, and then changed our lifestyle. And my husband's like a chef. And he cooks, healthy. So he took care of me that way. What can I say? That's so, cool. We just were eating healthier. We didn't do the fast food thing, eating healthier, but not to the extreme or anything like that. I mean, I still eat junk food, but still eating a really good diet, healthy diet. And then with that working out, I mean, I work out every day. I couldn't survive if I didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? Every day. And then I just have different things I do depending on what I feel like that day to work out.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it pays off. Unless you have something that you just have no control over, and you get a disease or an illness that your lifestyle, doesn't make it, doesn't affect it. Really, it does pay off to be, active. It really does. Because I mean, we see so many people like my husband and I, our age, friends we know, they really look old. They look old, dude. And I know people that are in their 50s and 60s that seem older than me, just the way they move, like when they walk, and they move and they get in and out of a car and up and down off a chair, you go, damn, they're old. I mean, I'm thinking, are these people like 80 or 90 or something, but they're like 50 and 60. And I'm like, I'm amazed. So that active lifestyle really does make a difference. I think so.
Definitely. I mean, the more you sit on the sofa and do nothing, and the more you sit at a desk and do less, the more it starts to degrade your motor neurons or whatever they call it. And
exactly.
As you say, people start from a very young age losing the ability to be flexible, and it's just about a healthy diet coupled with exercise, essentially.
Right.
But I think you go beyond that. It's also like a mindset. You're like
Oh yeah.
We've got 10 minutes. Yeah. You're like a 21-year-old in an older person's body, and I think that's what keeps you like fresh, young. And when I close my eyes and I hear you talk on Instagram, I see a completely different person.
Isn't that funny? I've had people tell me that. That's so weird. But you know how sometimes you hear somebody talk, like, maybe you're even listening to a radio interview or something, you're not seeing the person.
Yes.
And you're hearing them talk, and then all of a sudden they'll say, hey, how old are you? Then when they say their age, you go, they don't even sound like that. Because you just associate that when you get older, you're going to sound old.
Yes.
You're going to sound like really old, or however old sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you don't hear that. And I've had people tell me that, like, you don't seem like, and even when I'm out in the water, I'll have somebody paddle up and go, are you Surfer Susie? And they go, you can't be that old. And I go, God, I love you. Come on over here. You know what I'm saying? Let's hang out.
And just don't drop in on
like
me.
my new best friend.
That's cool.
It's funny.
It's
pretty
cool.
funny.
It's been an absolute treat getting to know you, and thank you so much for letting us peer into your life, telling us about your history and the things that you've done, the path that you chose, and the reason you did it was because you went and watched a movie called Gidget, and it inspired you to want to surf.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
It's really cool.
And I hope that it inspires a lot of young other women to follow the same path. Is there anything that you want to tell everybody out there before we just wrap this up?
No. I just say, keep going. Just, find your stoke. Maybe it's not certain, but, and you can find it, you just got to find your stoke, and you'll know when you got it.
Yep.
Because you know how it is that you're thinking about it. You can't stop it. You're just thinking about it.
You're over 70, you're surfing, you're stoked. People, pay attention to Susie, and I've left all the links down below. Please remember to go and follow Susie, give her love, give her support. Don't forget to hit subscribe, okay? Hit the like, and also comment below if you want to win a fins plural, from the J-Bay Fin Company in South Africa. All the details are below for the closing date for your entry, but please hit subscribe, comment below, follow Susie. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Shredding the Gnar.
I'm Surfer Susie, and I'm shredding the Gnar, dudes.